15:42 p.m. local time, September 17, 2025, the Taiwan Strait. A Chinese Type 055 Lhasa hull. 102 turns hard. Not in parallel, not passive. It's coming straight for the USS Zumwalt DDG 1.2, an American Zumwalt-class destroyer running a legal freedom of navigation patrol just east of the Taiwan median line. It doesn't broadcast its intent. It doesn't need to. From the Combat Information Center, a voice cuts through. Contact altering course. CPA under 200 yards. That's nothing. 200 yards between warships at sea. You're already in danger. The Zumwalt tries to raise the Chinese ship over bridge to bridge. English first, then Mandarin. Nothing. The destroyer keeps coming. Bow aimed directly at the Zumwalt, closing in at over 25 knots. That's 29 mph in a 15,700-ton hull, designed to deliver long-range strike and vanish from sensors when needed. The Zumwalt's AN/SPY-6 radar tracks everything. Heading acceleration angle, but it's not a radar signal that alarms the bridge crew. It's the silence. No warning, no contact, no margin. This isn't shadowing. This isn't a coincidence. This is China testing how close it can get to a US warship before something breaks. And if the test goes wrong, it won't be a drill. It'll be international news. Because in these waters, when steel meets steel at combat distance, there's no such thing as a harmless pass. At 3:43 p.m., the radar confirms it. The Type 055 Lhasa isn't just approaching, it's accelerating. SPY-6 data shows a speed jump from 21 to 25.4 knots in under 30 seconds. That's not patrolling speed, that's combat intercept speed. Not a drift in heading, but a vector shift aimed straight at the USS Zumwalt's starboard bow. The bridge calls it out. CPA down to 185 yards. Time to CPA 2 minutes. CPA closest point of approach. If that number hits 0, it means collision. At this rate, there's no room for even one bad assumption. Bridge to bridge goes out again, clear, firm, measured, unidentified Chinese naval vessel. This is the United States warship conducting lawful transit. Alter course immediately. No response. They try again, this time in Mandarin. Still nothing. Inside the Zumwalt, it's calm but electric. Everyone knows what this means. The maneuver is deliberate, and in naval terms, silence is not confusion, it's defiance. Command in CIC tags the vessel. Track 052 designation, Type 055 Renhai-class PRC Navy. The Type 055 is no slouch. With HHQ-9 surface-to-air missiles, 130mm HPJ-38 deck gun, YJ-18 anti-ship missiles, and full combat radar suites, it's considered China's heavy hitter destroyer, more than capable of challenging U.S. ships, especially in close quarters. But the Zumwalt isn't backing down either. Her 155mm AGS gun slew slightly, just enough for the other ship to see the movement. The crew doesn't load it. They don't need to. The gesture speaks louder. The CIC logs every second, every heading, every change in acceleration. The USS Zumwalt holds course. No evasive moves. Not yet. Because if they flinch now, they lose the narrative, and worse, they set the precedent. This isn't just ship versus ship. This is China betting that the US won't risk escalation. And Zumwalt, she's calling that bluff one radar ping at a time. 15:43. 30 hours. 200 yards of ocean, no more, no less separated Lhasa and Zumwalt. Both ships held course engines, straining radar beams, slicing through mist like blades of light. The air itself felt charged, vibrating with the sound of machinery trying to outstare time. Engines deepened into a metallic growl, echoing through the hull of Type 055 Lhasa. The ship's Type 346B ASA radar came alive, its 4 phased array panels spinning invisible webs across the sea. The antenna pulsed like a heart under armor, each sweep releasing a wave of electromagnetic breath that stretched beyond 400 kilometers. Beneath the steel power hummed like a living organism, cold, deliberate, and unblinking. Each pulse painted the USS Zumwalt in invisible firelight. The radar traced her angular hull the way the ocean broke around her stealth edges, the micro-vibrations of her integrated power system bleeding into the water. To the radar, Zumwalt wasn't a ship, she was a signal refusing to disappear. Below deck, the bow-mounted sonar caught the low thrum of cavitation bubbles collapsing behind Zumwalt's twin screws. Frequencies fluctuated between 42 and 55 Hz, uneven, impatient, the sonic heartbeat of acceleration. At 25 knots, the math became merciless. Two ships closing inside 200 yards meant less than 120 seconds to impact. 2 minutes between diplomacy and collision. In the CIC, every console glowed like nerve endings. Operators didn't breathe, they calculated. 1 degree of error, 1 second of hesitation, and history would remember this as more than a test. Across the gray water, two machines alive with current, pride, and silence listened to each other breathe. Pressure built like static before a storm. Within Type 055, Lhasa's Combat Information Center, every console burned steady green, too calm for what the math was saying. CPA 185 yards. Time to intercept 1 minute 45 seconds. Someone exhaled, and that was enough. The order dropped like a hammer. Set combat readiness level 2. Mechanical relays thudded through the decks. The HPJ-38 130mm main gun came alive, turret motors whining as the barrel slewed 15 degrees starboard. On the augmented reality tactical overlay, its arc of fire glowed red, a silent warning painted in light. Above the Type 1130 CIWS stirred. 11 barrels rotated, clicking into alignment, metal fingers stretching for the trigger that no one wanted to pull. Hydraulic pumps hissed. Every spin was a question the ocean didn't want answered. Across the divide, USS Zumwalt held position, a shadow with discipline. No evasive action, no bridge lights, only a fresh sweep from her AN SPY-6 radar, a pulse so tight it sliced through electronic clutter like a scalpel. Inside Lhasa's EW suite, the spectrogram flared. A narrowband spike, clean, coherent, unmistakable. Operators called it out foreign radar emission high-power track mode. Lock-on frequency confirmed. The phrase hung like a match over fuel. Lock-on didn't mean missile, not yet. But in the logic of machines, it meant attention sharpened to a single heartbeat. No one spoke. The CIC clock ticked past by the second. 2 hulls, 2 mines, 2 entire nations staring down a gap smaller than a football field. In war, a lock-on is just a stare with better math. The lock-on warning had faded, but its echo stayed inside Type 055. Lhasa's Combat Information Center. Tension didn't vanish. It condensed. Every display glowed that same surgical green, the color of control under pressure. Crew voices dropped to whispers. Power systems hummed at a pitch just short of fear. CPA 185 yards, then 170, now 150. At this speed, 25 knots, 90 seconds was all it took to turn proximity into history. The Type 346B ASA radar kept its rhythm, 4 flat eyes, breathing light, sweeping in perfect coordination. Each return came sharper, denser, pulsing through the hull like a heartbeat amplified by steel. Below decks, the integrated electric propulsion murmured with rising tension, its vibration thin as nerves. No alarms, no motion, just the feeling that every molecule of air knew what could happen next. Inside this engineered calm, even oxygen felt counted. A young operations officer leaned forward, headset pressing against his skull. Sweat beaded under his collar, tracing a single line down to his uniform's seam. He didn't flinch. His voice steady, mechanical. CPA 150. Time to intercept 1 minute 30 seconds. Nobody replied. The room didn't need words, it ran on data pulses and math. But the thought was shared, unspoken, alive in every mind aboard one wrong number, and the sea stops pretending. Outside, the Pacific looked like glass. Smooth. Perfect. Deceptive. Because beneath that quiet mask, thousands of volts and 40,000 tons of steel were ready to ignite. The ocean was a circuit board, and 2 currents were about to cross. At 15:45 hours, pressure lifted from the deck as the Z-20 ASW helicopter tail number Blue 27 powered up on the aft flight deck of Type 055 Lhasa. Rotor wash scattered seawater across the stern, turning the air into mist and static. No weapons loaded, no overflight planned, just presence. This wasn't an attack. This was a signal. As the Z-20 climbed to 200 feet, its FLIR sensor came alive, a forward-looking infrared eye opening to swallow the truth. The gimbal stabilized glass lenses, adjusting for crosswinds. Under favorable conditions, reports indicate the system can maintain target lock within 0.3 degrees, even in gusts up to 40 knots. The feed began streaming through Beidou uplink encrypted 4K packets, transmitted every 10 seconds to Fleet Command. The imagery was geotagged, time-stamped, and archived in real time. Through the infrared display, the ocean looked like a sheet of breathing metal. Heat signatures flickered engine cores, exhaust vents, radar panels, and human silhouettes moving along USS Zumwalt's upper deck. Two figures stood near her stealth turret, motionless, not aiming, just watching. Inside the Z-20, the sensor operator panned slowly, camera locked on the American destroyer's bridge. The data uplink confirmed signal integrity, no dropouts, no interference. Every shimmer, every blink, every thermal bloom was captured, stored undeniable. If the world ever questioned what happened here, Beijing would have proof recorded from the sky itself. Because at this moment, over the Taiwan Strait, the sky wasn't neutral. The sky was now recording history in infrared. CIC lighting dimmed to combat mode, every console wrapped in ghostly green. A warning tone snapped through the air, CPA under 150 yards. Time to impact 60 seconds. No one moved. Inside USS Zumwalt, DDG 102, even the air felt engineered, compressed, tense, electric. Data flickered across the AN/SPY-6 tactical display, two contacts, the American stealth destroyer and the Chinese Type 055 Lhasa, two giants of steel converging at a combined 50 knots. Engines deep below decks growled like impatient wolves, turbines pushing past 28 knots vibration, crawling through bulkheads like a live current. Metal plates thrummed, sensors screamed data into the void. On the center screen, the computer traced the projection in red, CPA 145 yards, relative speed 50 knots. At that range, time to impact wasn't theory, it was countdown. Algorithms gave the collision an 82% probability. Every heartbeat inside the Combat Information Center matched the pulse of the ship, sonar pings, radar sweeps, and the deep mechanical hum blending into one heartbeat of steel. The AN/SPY-6 radar kept painting the threat, the faint outline of Chinese destroyer Type 055, Lhasa hull 102, now so close her wake shimmered on the surface return. The air between them was a thread drawn tight enough to sing. Maintain bearing, the USS Zumwalt's captain ordered, voice flat, surgical. We don't blink. The words hit harder than alarms. Operators froze mid-motion. Even the helmsman's knuckles went white. The sea outside frothed under twin wakes boiling where discipline met defiance. 50 seconds, 45, 40. Somewhere in the hull, a compressor vented steam, a hiss like a fuse burning. Two warships, USS Zumwalt, DDG 1002 and Type 055, Lhasa hull 102, 30,000 tons of nerve and precision, 1 minute from rewriting what close encounter means. Tension snapped like cable under strain. On USS Zumwalt's SPY-6 radar display, a sliver of movement appeared, a pixel shift tiny but decisive. The Chinese Type 055 Lhasa hull 102 had altered course 5 degrees starboard. The digital needle trembled. SPY-6 recalculated in real time, CPA widening 175 yards, 190, 210. Collision risk dropped from 80 to 30% in under 10 seconds. No one spoke, no one smiled. In naval warfare, victory rarely explodes, it exhales. Static hissed through the comms before a clear American voice cut through, crisp and calm. Chinese naval vessel Lhasa. This is USS Zumwalt, DDG 1002, United States Navy destroyer. You are operating in international waters. Advise you, maintain safe distance. A pause. Then the reply came back across the channel, slow, formal, and faintly resigned. We acknowledge. Recording unsafe maneuvers. Every syllable was captured, logged, and archived audio synced with 4K infrared footage from the MH-60R Seahawk still circling overhead. His FLIR eye saw everything, the shift in wake pattern, the subtle turn of Lhasa's bow, the plume of heat blooming from her engines. Proof, irrefutable, time-stamped, and already streaming through Link 16 uplink to Pacific Command. Outside, the waves folded back into rhythm as if the sea itself decided to breathe again. 15 minutes of silence had written a chapter in deterrence, and the cameras had captured every second. The truth wouldn't hide in smoke or gunfire. It was stored in data, forever retrievable. Sometimes victory isn't about firing first. Sometimes victory is just holding your course until the other side blinks. Engines eased to cruising thrust, and the sea once coiled like a fist slowly unclenched. USS Zumwalt, DDG 1002 and Type 055 Lhasa Hull 102 drifted apart, their wakes stretching into parallel scars across the Pacific. Radar brightness faded, scopes sliding from red to amber, then to the soft green of peacetime. Inside Zumwalt's Combat Information Center, lights returned to standard hue. Operators removed their headsets, ears still ringing from the quiet. The mission log closed at 15:47:22. The exact timestamp embedded in every 4K frame, uplinked through Link 16, recorded by MH-60R Seahawk tailcode Black 13 before touchdown. The helicopter returned like a loyal witness, rotors whispering as it settled on the aft deck, still wet with salt spray. Reports compiled, fast data streams, telemetry, and comm transcripts bundled for U.S. Pacific Fleet Command. The packet was precise: CPA minimum 145 yards, no contact, full visual confirmation. The summary note read simply, "Unsafe approach documented. U.S. vessel maintained lawful course." Inside Zumwalt's Combat Information Center, lights returned to standard hue. Operators removed their headsets, ears still ringing from the quiet. One camp called it reckless aggression, another a masterclass in restraint. But every network replayed the same frame: two warships passing close enough for their shadows to merge. At sea, distance was restored. On land, the arguments began. In this era, battles don't always end in explosions. Sometimes they end in timestamps, telemetry, and quiet proof of control. And as Zumwalt's radar cooled its final pulse, whispered through the Strait evidence that sometimes discipline is the loudest weapon of all. No missiles, no explosions, just a war of precision and patience. The Pacific stilled, but the tension it carried would echo far beyond the horizon. Machines followed orders perfectly, yet the humans guiding them trembled between instinct and command. Discipline had held barely. From above, the Seahawk's last transmission faded into static, leaving only the heartbeat of the sea. Somewhere in that silence, a lesson lingered: conflict no longer needs fire to burn. As the sun dipped low, its reflection stretched across USS Zumwalt's bow light, flickering over steel and spray like a pulse slowing down. In the end, it wasn't firepower or intimidation that defined the day. It was something quieter, sharper ingenuity, the great equalizer.